Donald Trump is now saying in a message to the Bitcoin community that he wants to shoot the Bitcoin price to new heights. Check this out. We have a Bitcoin president who wants to make Bitcoin explode. We're taking a look at this message and everything that's included in it. Plus, we have a really crazy week ahead of us. We have 48 hours left until the FOMC meeting, where the next interest rate decisions will take place in the U.S. And on top of that, France is now planning a massive tax on unrealized gains from Bitcoin. This is insane. We've never seen this in the EU. And now France could potentially be the first player to tax unrealized Bitcoin gains. Let's take a look at what's behind this. First, let's take a look at the weekly overview. Here we can actually see that the next interest rate decisions are coming up at the Federal Reserve on Wednesday. Nothing major is expected there, so we probably won't see any massive price jumps or interest rate cuts here. So right now, there aren't any crazy stories priced in. Interest rates probably won't be lowered for now. We have almost a 97% chance that interest rates won't be lowered right now. So there are still just under 2 days left. But Donald Trump has already announced that he might talk to Jerome Powell and even bring him on board. Donald Trump will definitely keep lowering the interest rates. Falling interest rates always mean more liquidity. More liquidity means rising Bitcoin prices. Right now, the Federal Reserve is being a bit cautious. But right now, the market expectation is that interest rates won't be falling anytime soon. There are even people saying that there won't be any interest rate cuts this year at all. Or people who say that at least until mid-year, until summer, there won't be any interest rate cuts. But like I said, Donald Trump could change this really, really quickly. We can see how quickly he really gets things done here. Even now, with the volume and whatever else he's doing. So if he really has something in mind, he'll go for it without hesitation. That's really crazy. And that also means that if he says something here, like lowering the interest rates, it could manifest pretty quickly. And then we could really drop from a high interest phase into an absolute low interest phase. Or rather, those are already in a relatively low interest phase, but it's not really comparable to the corona situation or anything like that. So the interest rates have already fallen several times, but there's still quite a bit missing compared to the corona phase. And then something really crazy happened here. And here, Donald Trump has sent a new message to the Bitcoin community. And Donald Trump met with David Bailey here. The tweet is now cut off. You can't see the top part of the tweet anymore because I translated it here. But anyway, David Bailey says, "I just spoke with Donald Trump and thanked him for keeping his promises to our industry and to Ross." So here, Ross Ulbricht has been pardoned. Donald Trump basically promised not to sell the Bitcoin. That still hasn't happened yet. Donald Trump promised to promote Bitcoin regulation. That has also happened. Of course, he also promoted the whole crypto thing and so on, but that includes Bitcoin as well. And from that perspective, you can't really blame Donald Trump for anything so far, except maybe that he hasn't finished the stockpile yet, that it's still being evaluated. But in my opinion, that's still a very, very good trend that we're on right now. And now he says here, I asked him if he wanted to send a message to the Bitcoin community. And then Donald Trump said he is 100% behind us. So there's 100% support. Donald Trump also said he stands behind the libertarian community. That was basically the message he put out to Ross Ulbricht, that the libertarian community has always supported Donald Trump. And that's why he's supporting the libertarian Ross Ulbricht and pardoning him. So Donald Trump is already saying that he is 100% behind the Bitcoin community. And he also says that we would help Bitcoin reach even greater heights and outpace China and other countries that want to take it away from us. Thank you, President Trump, for being the first Bitcoin president. Promises made, promises kept. So this is really ultra wild. He's saying that he wants to catapult Bitcoin to new heights. And we already know from sources like Anthony Scaramucci, who has also stated that Donald Trump really sees the Bitcoin price, as well as the stock market price, like the S&P 500, as indicators of his success. And that's why he's clearly saying, hey, he wants to keep pumping the Bitcoin price up. Could lead to a Bitcoin explosion. And it's really, really wild that we have a Bitcoin president in the US who genuinely wants to drive Bitcoin prices higher. There were also some leaks, even from Anthony Scaramucci, who said that Donald Trump wants to shoot the Bitcoin price up to $150,000. Then there was Eric Trump, who said that Bitcoin will rise to $1 million. So there are various statements. But the parallel here is that Donald Trump always wants to shoot the Bitcoin price up. That means Donald Trump is not being bearish here. He's not saying, hey, do we need to pull the emergency brake or hit the brakes here? No. Donald Trump always says, let's fucking go Bitcoin to the moon. We want to pump Bitcoin up. And at the same time, he's already mentioned several times that he definitely wants to be ahead of China. So he's definitely worried that China might get ahead of the US, that maybe China is buying more Bitcoin than the US or something like that. But often, when it comes to Bitcoin, this isn't the first time. Then he also talks about China. I think, wasn't it at the Nashville conference or somewhere that he also talked about China, where he said we need to be careful that China doesn't outpace us. And here he's getting really specific about the Bitcoin topic in China. So he suspects that China might want to buy Bitcoin too and just wants to be faster. By the way, I'm here in my new location, in my new cave. I switched caves now. I keep going into new caves every now and then. But right now, I'm outside the cave. Wow, it's shining so crazy bright here. Anyway, I'm sitting here at sunset. Let me show you this in front of my cave. Well, this is not my cave, but here, I don't know, nobody else has claimed it. So, I'm just turning this into my home office. Then people also asked in the comments, hey David Bailey, did you bring up the whole crypto thing with him, since everyone is so nervous about crypto and Bitcoin and what's going on with that? David Bailey said no, he didn't bring that up with him. But that would have been the interesting question, what's going on with the crypto stockpile, whether the focus is on Bitcoin or if it's actually just a shitcoin. History is being made. The only thing David Bailey said is that Donald Trump isn't really aware of the discussion that's currently happening. He doesn't realize that people are having those kinds of thoughts. So Donald Trump really doesn't have a good handle on it. But I mean, he probably has 1,000 things on his mind right now. He's probably got other problems to worry about than thinking about whether there's going to be a Bitcoin or a crypto stockpile or whatever. So there's the Trump team that's supposed to evaluate this. And all of this is obviously super bullish right now. I need to get up now. This is all obviously super bullish, but there are actually things here that are really concerning. As I said, we're seeing in the USA that it's really opening up a lot. But in the EU, there are always players who are really trying to interfere and block Bitcoin. And we're seeing that here in France as well. There have always been rumors and voices in the past about whether France wants to introduce a massive Bitcoin tax, whether France wants to impose unrealized taxes. To impose taxes on Bitcoin gains. Now it's actually being called big breaking news. The French Senate has officially approved the budget for 2025, which includes a tax on unproductive assets targeting assets like Bitcoin in the year. The tax would be levied annually on unrealized gains from cryptocurrencies. The proposal is now awaiting a vote in the National Assembly. So check this out. So that means this isn't finalized yet. But that would mean that you, for example, buy Bitcoin. You let it sit there for a year. You're not selling the Bitcoin, but Bitcoin makes a 100% profit in a year like that. And now you have to pay taxes on the Bitcoin without even selling it. And that would mean that France is really making itself unpopular. Not just within the Bitcoin community, but also across the entire business community. No entrepreneur, no Bitcoin would basically stay here in France. At least, people who have significant amounts here. People have already been writing, hey, pack your bags from France, go somewhere else, go to the USA, go to El Salvador, whatever. Go to any countries where you'll be treated better. But definitely get out of these socialist holes, because this is just outrageous. And I actually took a look at this now. Here's an official document where you can check it out. That's all in French, of course. I'm going to show you the German version now because I translated it into German. It actually says here in the original excerpt, we can see that. Article 965 here. The tax base for assets is determined by their value at the year start. It includes assets held by individuals and their children. January of the year formed. It includes assets that are held directly or indirectly by the individuals mentioned in the articles, as well as their minor children, if they have legal control over the management of those children's assets. So basically, even the kids are affected. If they hold Bitcoin here, now pay attention. Here, various assets are listed. First, we have apartments that the taxpayer reserves for their own use, so an apartment where you actually live. Then we have undeveloped land. Then we have liquidity and equivalent financial assets. So this is something like savings deposits and blah, blah, blah. So here, various things fall under the unrealized gains tax. Then we have movable assets. By the way, I'm back in the cave again. Check it out loud, really cool. Movable assets, then we have rights to literary, artistic, and industrial property, which of course sounds very, very sketchy. Do they really want to tax everything? And then we have point 6. Digital assets, according to article blah, blah, blah. This is really something else. In France, they're actually taxing unrealized. Gains not just on Bitcoin, but on crypto, real estate, you name it, everything they can think of. And I'll say it again, this makes a country really unattractive. But we have to say, it's not set in stone yet. It could still be rejected, and we can only hope for that. But in the end, it's very interesting because you keep hearing more and more voices talking about unrealized gains, and then we have to tax this, tax that, and whatever. And that's also what I've already said in several videos. One side of the world, in the US and so on, is opening up. And the other side of the world, in the EU and so on, is really closing itself off now. So they basically want to make Bitcoin less attractive, especially with the MiCA regulation and whatever else is planned. Then they're planning CBDCs, or central bank digital currencies, at the ECB. And in America, they're doing the opposite. CBDCs are suddenly banned. Suddenly, they're opening up. They have a crypto advisory team all of a sudden. They're considering introducing a stockpile. They're considering lowering the crypto taxes here. For example, there's a paragraph that Eric Trump published stating that in the US, they basically don't want to tax cryptocurrencies that are hosted in the U.S. So that means any people who have their cryptocurrencies based in the US, I think that's Solana or Ripple and so on, it's definitely a questionable situation. But it could also mean that not only the companies launching their own cryptocurrencies in the US will have tax advantages, but also companies that are doing something with Bitcoin will have an advantage here. For example, MicroStrategy comes to mind. MicroStrategy is definitely a massive company. For example, there were rumors that they would also have to pay out unrealized profits, but that's not true at all. And Donald Trump, or rather Eric Trump, is even making the pitch that companies in America involved with Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies in general, it's unclear if MicroStrategy counts as one of those, could actually be completely tax-free. That means, similar to El Salvador, if you are a Bitcoin startup or something like that and do something with Bitcoin and innovations and so on, then you are completely tax-free here. And the same thing could happen here in America. And that would be totally crazy. So we now have Ross Ulbricht, who is free. We have better regulation in the U.S. We have a president who actively wants to pump up the Bitcoin price. Check this out. On top of that, we have a president who actually owns Bitcoin. He has Bitcoin, and of course, he's got all that red Bitcoin stuff going on with his decentralized Liberty Finance, whatever that is he's got going on. But he definitely has Bitcoin. He wants to pump up the Bitcoin price. He has an incentive to pump up the Bitcoin price. And now they might even optimize taxes here in the US and in France. All the socialists are basically going in the exact opposite direction. So, no idea what that's about, but just let them do their thing. I mean, in the end, there are basically two options. Adopt or have fun staying poor in Europe. And France is choosing to stay poor. So, have fun staying poor. Let me know what you think about the movements right now. Are you as bullish as Donald Trump? See you later. Greetings from El Salvador. Peace out.